Okay, welcome back, you guys. Today we are gonna talk about 10,000 Ships, as we all know, which is mentioned in Game of Thrones and is Arya Stark's favorite story. Nymeria, as she looks up to a lot. As you guys can see, I've put some markers down because I don't want to translate the whole entire story, but I think these passages are really important to understand what they are trying to say here. So we have talked about Valyria and its dragon lords and its rivers of fire with all the dragons and the children of Valyria, Old Kishkari and its slaves, dragon lords of Valyria, Long Night stuff, children of the forest. And now we are going to talk about a 10,000 Ships and its folk, the Rhoynar. Rhoyne. I don't know how to pronounce it actually. Yeah. So here it says, the last migration to the lands of Westeros occurred long after the first men set foot upon its shores and the Andals crossed the narrow sea. When the Dragon Lords of Valyria at last prevailed in their wars against the Kishkari, their gaze turned westward. Yet the rising might of Valyria soon set the freehold and its colonies at odds with the people of the Rhoyne. The many branches of that mighty river spread wild across the western heart of Essos, and along its fertile banks had arisen a culture and a realm as storied and ancient as Old-Geese itself. The Rhoynar drew their strength and their splendor from the gifts of their river, which they called Mother Rhoyne, for she nurtured them as a mother does to her children. They sang to her, bathed in her waters, and believed her currents to be the very lifeblood of their people. So now we are going to read about how the Valyrians, this one as you can see, come in contact with the Rhoyne and its people. And I actually think this is a very interesting part as I read through it, because the Rhoynar, as I told here a bit, draw their strength from the river banks, and the story mentions river wizards. So that is actually really interesting, and I actually hope you will read it. I will read it with you. But as I was reading it, I was thinking this is a very interesting thing for Game of Thrones to film. So maybe they will do that. Art and song flourished in the cities of the Rhoyne, and according to ancient tales, their people possessed a magic all on their own. River magic, born of water and flowing life, unlike the sorceries of Valyria, which drew their strength from blood and fire. Though the Rhoyne cities were bound by shared blood, shared custom, and the river that had given them birth, each city was fiercely independent, ruled by its own prince or princess, for among the river folk, women stood as equal to men. So they were actually the first feminists of Westeros, so that's good, I guess. But this is a really long passage, and most of this just like talks about Rhoynar and its enemies, and they fought and they fought and they fought, and they lived in peace for a long time. But then the Valyrians came, and yeah, war started and stuff. This is also a very interesting passage. According to the old tales, the first war began when the Valyrians slew one of the greatest river turtles. The ancient giants the Rhoynar called the Old Men of the River, sacred servants of Mother Rhoyne, the river. The first turtle war, the fact that they call it that, the first turtle war was ended within the turning of a single moon. Sarmel was taken and put to the torch, yet in the end the Roina prevailed, for their water mages called upon the power of the river itself. They summoned Mother Roin's wrath, and Voluntaries was drowned within her rising waters. If the chroniclers are to be believed, half of the city swept away. Yet though the river had spoken, more wars were to follow. So then this passage talks about all the wars that were there. About, here it says, the War of the Three Kings, the Second Turtle War, the Fisher War, the Salt War, the Third Turtle War. So I don't know how many turtles they killed, but yeah, I mean, after the first turtle, I think you should know that you shouldn't kill turtles anymore because they get very triggered because of that. And here it says the Roinar in battle with the Free City. I think this is a really cool picture. I think, yeah. Imagine this filmed. I think that's very cool. I think the Roinar are a very cool story to film. Here it says, there was a Roinar prince named Garin of Koyan, who called upon his fellow river lords to join in a great alliance to stand against the Valyrian cities, whose host now poured across the waters of the Rhoyne. Only Princess Nymeria... So he called upon his lords to fight back, obviously, because he was like, we need to fight back, right? Very normal reaction when your cities are getting burned. Only Princess Nymeria of Nyssar spoke against him. She said, this is a war we cannot hope to win. But the rest would not need her counsel. Their hearts were filled with pride and wrath, and they bent their swords and banners to Prince Garin. Garin's first great victory came at Selhoris, where he shattered a Valyrian host 30,000 strong and put the city to the sword. Valisar would soon share the same fate. At Voluntaries, Prince Garin faced a far greater foe: 100,000 warriors, 100 war elephants, and 3 dragon lords astride their beasts of flame. Yet even there he prevailed. Though the cost was grievous, thousands burned alive beneath dragonfire, but 1,000 more took refuge in the river, and their water wizards called down mighty torrents, raising towering columns of river water to clash with fire in the sky. And I found this very interesting passage because it is to be believed that there were river wizards in the past. So imagine if in the current Game of Thrones settings with Daenerys and her dragons, like, who did we need actually? We needed the Rhoynar. Where were they during the war with Daenerys and her dragons? Anyways, Rhoynar bowmen brought down 2 dragons, and the 3rd fled wounded. And in her fury, Mother Rhoyne rose and swallowed Voluntaries internally. But rather than... From that day forth, the people named him Garin the Great, and it was said the proud lords of Volantis trembled at the sound of his coming. But rather than meet him in the battle, the Volantin hid behind their black walls and sent pleas for aid to the freehold. And the dragons came, not 3, as Garin had faced before, but 300, or so the songs would have us believe. But Sorcer's fire the Rhoynar could not stand. 10,000 burned, and others drowned in its river. And then here you have a high number of corpses in the cities surrounding Roina. In time, Nymeria heard of Garin's defeat and the ruin of many cities, and she understood that the same fate awaited her own. So she gathered all the ships, great and small, that still lay upon the Rhine, and filled them with as many women as children as they could bear without sinking. Nymeria led her half-lost fleet downstream, past villages burned and broken, and fields strewn with bodies, to waterways choked with swollen drifting dead. The old tale say that Nymeria took 10,000 ships to sea, seeking refugees beyond the reach of the Valeries and his dragon lords. So she seeks refuge with her 10,000 ships. This passage talks about how she sailed through different cities, different islands. Here they mention Nath, the island where, as we all know, Missandei is born, the butterfly island. Then she goes to the summer islands also, but they never really are accepted anywhere, or a sickness takes over the people, so they leave again. Eventually they arrive in Westeros, in Dorne. In those days, dry, desolate, and thinly peopled Dorne was a poor land where petty lords and little kings waged endless wars over every river, stream, spring, and scraps of fertile earth. But Mors Martell, lord of the Sandship, saw that these newcomers offered him a rare chance, and if the singers are to be believed, the lord also lost his heart to Nymeria, the warrior queen of surpassing beauty who had led her people across the world to keep them free. So they joined together, and the men of Dorne wed and bet the women that Nymeria took with her. And also, yet more important, still were the Rhoyna water witches, said to know hidden spells that could make dry streams run again and bring the desert itself to bloom. So then it also talks a bit about the little wars that Dorne then faced. Always wars. And they name a lot of names here. Ironborn, IJzerhout, Zwaard. Nadat Jorik's IJzerhout zwaard Mors Martell vallen bij derde slag van de Benenberg. I don't even know how to translate this. Derde slag van de Benenweg. Third slaying of whatever, Benenweg, I don't know. But anyways, this is a part about, the ending of the story of Nymeria. When her husband died, Queen Nymeria took command of his armies on her own. Though she would wed twice more, Nymeria herself remained the undisputed ruler of Dorne for 27 years, and her husbands served her only as counselors and consorts. She survived more than 10 attempts upon her life, crossed 2 uprisings, and withstood 2 invasions. When at last she died, she was succeeded not by her son Davos Dane, but by the eldest of her 4 daughters with Mors Martell. For by that time, people of Dorne had taken many of the laws and customs of the Rhoynar, even though the memories of Mother Rhoyne and its 10,000 ships already began to fade into legend. That's crazy. Doing so much work for your people, and then just people thinking it's a little story. So, yeah, that was the story of 10,000 Ships of Nymeria and its folk, the Rhoynar. Like I said, I think it's very interesting, and I hope they make a TV series or film about that, because I think it's very interesting to hear about the water witches. Kind of reminds me of Lord of the Rings, and you know when Frodo is in that river with the woman elf. I don't know what she's called again. Laurel? I don't know. That looks cool also, so yeah. The next time we will talk about the doom of Valyria, and this is a very interesting passage about Aegon the Conqueror and him coming to Westeros, and this is Balon the Dread, I think. Oh no, this is the destroying of Harrenhal. Oh wait, I don't know, this might be actually in current timeline with no wait, I don't know, with House of the Dragon. And this is Torrance Stark, the king who knew. So yeah, as you guys might know or might not know, I am House Stark. I'm a House Stark through and through. But yeah, this is a very interesting passage, and then it will talk about the Targaryen kings. But I think I will try to summon this up, and because it's a very long story, so let me know if you guys are okay with that, if I will just summon this whole entire story up, or if you actually prefer for me to translate most of the passages. But yeah, thank you once again for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you.